It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. This cost has to be built into your model. Just going back to it's bookkeeping, beer, and BS. So I got to get back to the numbers. That cost gets so overlooked at like how much of a percentage that is. And I hear so many people talk about their cost of goods sold and their labor rates this, and they only spend this on supplies, and they never account for how much they need to spend to go get new people and train them.
Yeah.
And how much they need to spend when equipment breaks down and they need to replace it. Like, it just gets overlooked. Everybody's shooting for the 100%, and that's what they're banking on. And then, as Mike Tyson would say, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Punched in the face.
So
that's right. And the reality is, like you're doing the same thing. We're pretty even with our staff numbers. Like, we need 10 good people. That's $40,000.
Yep.
And that's just for this year, knowing full well that 6 to 8 of them are going to go away and not be back here next year. Like, that's that. I don't like this, Dan. I've got to go.
I got work to do. So before we jump off, I'm just highlighting this. If we're like an hour and a half in, so we can definitely jump off here. If you stuck with us this long, thank you. Take a note of that. $4,000 if you're going to go replace.
Yeah.
And that's replacing or growing, right? Like, right now we're just kind of talking about replacing, but that's the cost to go hire anybody. So you're gonna have to replace some people because of turnover. This was just the turnover of your trainees, not even the turnover of the people that you have. So it's $4,000 every time you're gonna hire somebody, whether you're growing.
Honestly, this is pure gold. It goes back to, early on I said, hey, when's Christmas going to be this year? Well, it's December 25th. Guess what? It's always going to be that day. This is like, I have never examined the cost of hiring and training and getting the person I want on staff, that it costs that much. It never occurred to me. Like, I'm like, no, a new guy didn't really cost anything. It's like by week 2, they're flat. By week 3, they're making a profit. That's zero cost. Well, it's not true. It's like $4,000 per rock star. And that's actually, honestly, that's pretty cheap, but I don't plan it into my model.
I'm sure that was the Dan having a couple beers, hitting like the high points. If you really wanted to like scrutinize it and dig into every aspect of it, I'm sure it's more than $4,000 per employee. And it's just like, when you think about that investment. So the other point that I want to make before we jump off is, when we look at a cost, you always have to look at how much revenue you need to replace that cost. So if you're doing window cleaning, pressure washing, exterior stuff, usually if we're kicking ass, we can maybe make 20%. So somewhere between 10 and 20%, but let's just say 20% because we're awesome and we're crushing it, because everybody wants to talk about how they're crushing it.
Crushing it, Dan. Crushing
it. So if you get to keep 20% of every dollar of revenue that you make, which is awesome, by the way, if you're an owner operator and like part of that's your salary, your numbers are going to be different. But if you're hiring people to do your sales, to do your customer service, to do all the work for you, 20% would be a phenomenal net profit.
So respectable. Yeah.
So if you're at 20% and you're killing it, that means every time you spend money, you need to 5x that money in revenue to even pay for itself. So that means if you're going to hire somebody and it's going to cost you $4,000 to hire them, that person needs to generate 5x of $4,000. That's $20,000 in revenue just to pay for themselves. Like, they need to create that additional value, not just you booking it for them to go do. Like, they need to escalate your business by at least $20,000 to even just pay for the cost of hiring them. That's not even the cost of paying them when they go to do the work. That's just to like cover the cost of hiring them. If you're in the home cleaning space or the janitorial space, it's more like 10% would be a good net profit margin. So now you got to 10x that number. You're looking at like 30 to 40,000 of revenue that you need to get per person. Now those numbers would be a little bit different in terms of what they would pay and all that stuff. So we don't need to do that because we're spending a lot of time. But the importance of looking at that cost and how much multiplier you need in revenue to even cover that cost. It's a phenomenal expense and investment in your people. So that's a lot of stuff. That's an hour and a half of really fun accounting.
Pure gold.
Really fun
accounting. Like, I love that those two words can go in the same sentence, Dan.